All right. What is up, sir? How you doing?
Hey,
How's it going,
hey
my
Ben,
friend?
good man. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Thanks for asking. I'm excited to have you on here. I know Chad's really excited for you to be here as well. Um, Fortunately, the chat isn't working for today. I took it off the screen for some awful reasons. But Chad, welcome, Luke. You and I have never had the pleasure to meet, unfortunately. You're across the world. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I heard you say you're across the world,
Yeah,
but
you're
but
across the world, and it's insane that we haven't gone to see each other. I was really, really hoping that with DEF CON happening, we get a chance to meet. But
I know.
unfortunately, given these circumstances, this is the best we can do.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But that's where the world is at right now, isn't it? So maybe next DEF CON it'll work out. All right. I'm
I,
hoping so.
I hope so, man. I hope so. I don't know how much longer I can do without um, conferences, man. It's been crazy.
Yeah, I know. Actually, I was supposed to be at one last weekend in Brisbane, which is my hometown. But yeah, it's been postponed to December, so we'll see how December goes, I suppose.
Well, I don't think we're gonna see any conferences here anytime soon. I think until the end of the year, but we'll move away from that topic. It's a little bit of a trigger word for me. For people that are watching you, man, for some reason, if I don't know who you are, give us your intro. Who are you? What do you do? And how long have you been hacking for?
Yeah. All right. Well, my name is Luke Stevens. Most people probably know me online as Hakluke. I'm a ex pen tester. Well, actually, I'm an ex developer. So I got into kind of web development, and then after that, I mean, I've always been interested in hacking since I was, in school, and I got into penetration testing after being a dev. And yeah, while I was doing that, I kind of found out about bug bounties and started hacking on different programs and things, and kind of writing tools and trying to get involved with the community as much as possible. And yeah, now we're here. Now I'm talking to Ben.
When did you get into bug bounties? Like, do you remember what year it was?
Yeah, it hasn't been that long actually. It was maybe 18 months to 2 years ago, something like that. I think, yeah, about then.
2 years. Any anything you didn't expect? Because 2 years. This is 2020, 2018. So bug bounties have been around for 4 years, and you said
Yeah.
you came from a pen testing background, right? How was the change from pen test to bug bounties?
Yeah, it was hard. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Because when you do a pen test, you're kind of looking for it's a totally different mindset. It's a totally different thing when you're pen testing. You're providing assurance, right? And you get paid based on the time you spend. You don't get paid based on the bugs that you find.
Impact,
So
right?
yeah, it's a totally different mind game, and it took me a little while to get used to that, and it took me a bit to get used to like knowing what kind of bugs actually get accepted, and the whole needing to provide actual impact thing. You don't really need to do that in a pen test. Even if you find something you're like, I think this might be a vulnerability, but I'm not 100% sure. You can just get on the phone with the client and chat it out, and they can kind of look into it. But you know, that took me a little while to get used to, and also just kind of rejigging my mindset on how to find bugs in bug bounties versus when you're pen testing and you're constantly just hacking on fresh apps that are generally like quite vulnerable versus hacking on, especially when you first get started in bug bounties, hacking on public programs
Yeah.
where there's a lot of competition. All the apps have been tested a lot before, and you're just jumping in there, and you're like the thousandth person to jump in and test this same feature. So yeah, it took me a while to kind of change my mindset there and actually start finding bugs. But um, I put in the work, and I think that like over time, just started finding more and more things, and yeah, that's it really.
You also did you were producing a lot of content for a while. I remember you kind of went like in on um, TikTok. What triggered it?
Yeah.
What made you want to get into the content creation kind of thing?
Yeah, like I've been thinking about the content creation thing for a long time, and it's what the community needs now. And like I really respect you, Ben, for putting out all the great content that you put out. Like this is I've gotten into running a bit recently just because I want to like maintain my health.
Right.
And your interviews are just so great for like putting in my ears and going for a run, because I feel like when I'm running, like in terms of like learning or whatever, it's kind of wasted time. But if I've got a good podcast or I can listen to a an interview from NahamSec, then it's like not wasted time. And also I can enjoy my run along the way. But yeah, I just think it's super important that people put their ideas out there. And my whole thing is like the hacking community is a community that is built on ideas,
Right.
right? When you think about it, it's like so important that people are putting their ideas out there, and it doesn't matter how experienced you are necessarily. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're releasing a tool that's half finished, or you have some half baked concept in your head and you're thinking like, oh, no one's going to find any value in this. I think it's good to just like brain dump onto the internet and let other people kind of think about the things that you're thinking. And maybe, you know, when someone else reads that, they'll get some idea that will spark them into some research or something like that. But yeah, we deal in ideas in InfoSec, and I just think it's really important to put ideas out there. And content creation is like the best way to do that. And we've got a few content creators now in the bug bounty space that are doing an incredible job. Yeah, I definitely want to be part of that, even more so than now. But
Yeah.
the TikTok thing specifically, like it was really funny watching people's reactions when I started making TikTok videos, because there's like, it's like not a very InfoSec thing to do, I guess. Although I noticed you're on there, Ben.
I am
Do you
on
have?
there, but it's
Yeah.
an empty page.
Yeah. Yeah, and Stirk is up there too. He's got some content up there, although I don't think he's active. You know, it's a platform that's big enough now, I think, that you can't really ignore it.
I mean, they
And
surpassed Snapchat and Instagram already, man. Like they're bigger than Snapchat and
yeah,
Instagram, you know, data wise. If you look at the numbers,
oh,
right? I don't care what you say. You don't like, you know, InfoSec isn't just. You know, I saw some comments on Twitter. Sorry to interrupt you, but I saw some comments about. I'm not gonna mention names, but someone was just like, "Oh, if you're an InfoSec, you shouldn't be on TikTok." Fuck you. Like, sorry, but who are you? Like, the InfoSec community is about being inclusive, bro. Like, fuck you for not
yeah.
being that way. I don't care if it's on Instagram or it's on TikTok, on whatever platform you're putting out your content. TikTok happens to be the next big thing. Like, sorry, it's the reality of it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. And you look, yeah, like you said, you look at the amount of people who are using TikTok now, and it's more than like a lot of social platforms that are very popular that have been around for years. So
Right.
it's just exploded, and it's also just the format that you can only put up a 15-second or a 60-second video, right?
Right.
Or somewhere in between that time, and I feel like that format is really good for like the whole bug bounty tip thing, like just putting something out there, or just like when you have a thought. Like I always when I'm walking my dog or whatever, I just have like a thought, and I'm like, oh, I should like tweet that or whatever. But video is so much more engaging, so
Yeah.
I think TikTok's a really good platform for that. But the other thing is, if you look at the demographics, if you want to get a bit too technical, you look at the demographics of TikTok,
Right.
and it's almost identical to the demographics of bug bounty hunters, which is super interesting because I'm talking like age wise
Right. Right.
uh,
A lot of
here.
college
Like
students,
people,
man.
yeah, exactly. Like people are saying like, oh, you know, TikTok's only for teens and whatever, but it's kind of like, it's definitely a younger audience, but so is bug bounties.
Right.
And also, as like with every other social media platform, it's going to mature. And as it matures, the people who are using it are also getting older. And the people who are on TikTok now, all the late teens, early 20s, they're going to be landing in pen testing gigs. They're going to be starting bug bounties. They're going to be learning how to hack. And in 5 or 10 years, TikTok might still be around, or it might not. But either way, those people that you're reaching on TikTok are going to be the hackers and the CISOs of the world. So, I just think don't be platform, and you just go everywhere. I think anyway. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest though, man, like, talking about the demographics of bug bounties, even if, let's say if our data shows that, both HackerOne and Buckroud's average age range is 24 for all I care, right? Beyond, like, just forget about that even. Like, it's 24, but the 24-year-olds that are on bug bounties already had their start. They already know where to look. They already have resources, right? But the 18-year-olds, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-olds are the people that are going to get into bug bounties because it looks cool to them. It looks fun to them. It's hacking. They want to learn about it. The 30-year-old already has a career, right? The 30-year-old, 33-year-old that's not on TikTok, chances are they already have a career. The chances of them getting into hacking is a lot less than a 17-year-old who just sees you on TikTok saying, bug bounties, I made, X $1,000. You can do it too. I personally didn't sign up for TikTok to do the content that you're doing. I legit signed up to do hacker memes. I wish Donut was in here. I sent Donut a few ideas of the memes that I wanted to do. Like the one that's like they make music of when someone pisses you off, they slam the door and it's like, I'm upset, and it plays that song really loud. You can make it into like when you get your first duplicate, slam the door and you scream, I'm upset, right? I wanted to make memes like that for it, but I just didn't know if there is a reason to do it. I signed up for it. I made a bunch of drafts and I chickened out.
Oh man, yeah, I know. And like the doing now is on TikTok is super lazy. Like, I'm just filming it on my phone and whatever, but there's so much potential there. I've been thinking about stuff too, and like there is really a lot of potential there that I'm pretty keen to explore. But it's a time thing as well. I also have been talking about starting a YouTube channel and doing some tutorials and stuff, and even doing some streaming for a long time. And like actually getting to it is like a whole other thing.
It's time consuming, man. It's time consuming. Me taking I was on break for 3 weeks. This is the first stream I've done in 3 weeks since NahamCon, and I just couldn't push my. I wanted to start last week. I just couldn't push myself, man. I just needed the extra week. It's a lot of work, and it's not. Okay, let me correct myself. It's not a lot of work. It's a lot of pressure, and it's also having a schedule to do these streams, because people want you to be they want to know your schedule. You're going to be streaming on this date, on this time, and this is a format. And this, it's not a stressful thing, but it's just the pressure of knowing on Sundays that I have to, I wake up and I know I have an hour to do whatever I want in my day because I have to stream for 3-4 hours. That really puts a toll on you, man, especially when you do it for a year. This is exactly a year since I've started streaming, and not having a Sunday off has been insane.
Yeah.
But let's talk about hacking. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, like, it reminds me of, I mean, a lot of different vloggers have done this on YouTube and stuff. I'm sure there's other examples too, but the one I'm thinking of is Casey Neistat, right? Yeah. And his channel blew up when he started doing a daily vlogging for like a year or something like that. Every single day he'd release a video, and the dude's a god at like making videos. But he also spoke about how he was tired and faced burnout, and you kind of wake up in the morning and you're like, what am I going to do today? But I think putting content out is super important, and I love what you're doing.
I appreciate it, man. Let's talk about hacking. How did you get into web hacking, man? How did you learn? How did you learn the concepts?
Well, I started. Okay, well, if we want to go right back, like I started just being interested in hacking. I don't know why, but I was always kind of interested in hacking. I think it's just kind of like something that's always been there for me. And this was like when I was very young. I must have been like 12, 13, something like that. I remember like Googling about hacking stuff. So I must have had some idea of what it was from like watching movies or something. I don't really know. I can't remember, but at the time there were no real resources for learning hacking, right? We're so lucky now that we've got all this stuff. We can do like Hack the Box. We can like basically Google anything and find a write-up on how to do it. And Bug Bounties have obviously had a big part to play in that. There's a lot more content out there than there used to be. But I got into it just because I was naturally interested in it, and I remember stumbling across this website. I think it was like happyhacker.net. It might have been happy-hacker.net or something like that.
Okay.
And it was this really old, dodgy site. And I was putting it in a blog recently about how I started hacking, and I found it on Wayback Machine. And and it's like it's in Comic Sans, and it's like obviously written in like raw HTML, and like it's just like classic that period of the internet, right? Anyway, so I read that, and it had very minimal information, and it was basically, the coolest article on there was literally talking about Telnet. So there was that, and then I found out that there was a book called Hacking Exposed. So I basically begged my parents for that because I didn't have any of my own money at that time, and I got it, and I read it about 1,000 times. And when I finished school, I ended up getting into like IT support, and then that kind of evolved into development. But I didn't actually get a job in information security until maybe 3 years ago, and that's when I became a pen tester. And I did my OSCP. That's how I got the job. Is that I did my OSCP, and this like CTF came up on Twitter, and I kind of like figured it out. And it turned out that it was for a recruitment agency. So yeah, they landed me a job as a pen tester, and I was super stoked. So I did that, and like that's where I learned most of my stuff, like on the job. I think it was just like getting thrown in the deep end, and all of a sudden I was just getting thrown on, web engagements and stuff. And I worked through Pentester Lab, and I just, just ate it for ages, and like learned the hard way basically. And that's kind of how I got started with web hacking.
You said you got your OSCP.
Yeah.
What's your take on OSCP? For a web pen testing kind of thing, or for any pen testing, I think OSCP is a good entry place, especially when you want to get, you want to get through the HR requirements, and you want to get to a technical interview. But what's your take on OSCP and bug bounties? Do you think it helps with bug bounties?
Oh, that's a tough question. I think OSCP, I think it helps with just general hacking knowledge, and it forced me to look into things that I probably wouldn't have naturally looked into otherwise, like basic binary exploitation. Okay. So there's that. I got so obsessed with OSCP, and like people ask OSCP questions all the time. Like, am I ready to take the OSCP? What preparation did you do? And I honestly didn't do much preparation for the OSCP because I didn't know how to prep. Basically, like I knew that I wanted to get into InfoSec instead of development because I was just really sick of being a PHP dev. Right. So I asked someone who was in the industry. I basically just like Googled around, about pen testing in Sydney, which is where I was living at the time, Sydney, Australia. Okay. And I found this guy who owns his own pen testing consultancy, and I basically emailed him and I was like, "Hey, what do I need to do? Like, what do I need to do to get into InfoSec as a pen tester?" And he basically replied back and said, "Do your OSCP." So that was my first knowledge of OSCP was that. And I signed up for it, and I somehow managed to convince my employer to pay for it at the time, even though I was a dev. Which was good because I so didn't have the money to pay for it at the time. And and I just got obsessed with it. I was like, wow, this is like the coolest thing ever. Like learning how to hack, and I just like poured over that PDF that they send you. And basically the point I'm trying to make is I think a lot of people forget that OSCP is actually a course. They just see it as a cert. Well, PWK is the name of the course, right? PWK is the course. OSCP is the name of the certification.
Right.
But I found that like when people started asking me like, what do I do to prep? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you do to prep? Like, it's a course. You're there to learn. That's the whole thing of it. So I learned so much in OSCP, and I think that like it was super valuable for me. But how valuable it is to you in Bug Bounties? First of all, it's not like really a Bug Bounty geared course. So if you're looking to get into Bug Bounties, I don't know if I'd recommend it. But just for general, like wholesome hacker knowledge, I think it's great. Yeah.
The HackerOne, I think so. I've never done my OSCP, but yeah, I've been on this kick of doing. I feel so bad for saying this. I've been doing the OSCP preparation, but I refuse to take my OSCP exam. I don't believe in certs, man. I don't need a cert to get through the HR at this point anymore. And I think I'm not gonna spend the money to get my cert. But I think it really does a really good job. I do a lot of Try Hack Me. Big shout outs to them. I do a lot of Try Hack Me stuff, and I see the value in it, man. Like I learn a lot of these concepts of thinking like a hacker, and a lot of like basics things that I don't think about. Like robots.txt should be a no-brainer. You should always hit robots.txt because it gives you some information, right? It gives you that mentality, but it's also up to the user to stick to that knowledge and make sure you put it into good use and you expand on it instead of just sitting on it and thinking you're going to accomplish something because you have that cert.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was the same. Like the reason, if I'm being super honest, like the reason that I did the OSCP was to get a job. I wasn't doing it for knowledge at the time. I did learn a lot, but keep in mind that I didn't know very much when I did it. So I think like it depends on who you are. It depends on how much experience you have and how much you know already. For me, it was really valuable for knowledge. For someone like you, probably wouldn't be that valuable. I just think that like you can get that knowledge elsewhere, but I didn't know where to get it. So yeah, it was super good for me. But I would recommend it to anyone who wants basically to get into a career in pen testing. Just because like it's kind of like something that looks really good on your CV if you're looking to be a pen tester. Obviously, like Ben, you've kind of like you're past that point, and probably doing the OSCP prep is going to be just as valuable to you as learning the content in the course. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. If you don't need it on your resume. So yeah.
I mean, honestly, like I'm not saying drop out of college, but if I were like, if you know programming without going to college, good for you. Skip college, get your OSCP, and get your first job at 19.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done.
I dropped out of college.
See, I barely graduated, man. Like I was on the verge of dropping out that I had to finish college. But honestly, man, like if you know how to if you can learn programming on your own, you don't fucking need Java. You don't need C++. Like to become a pen tester, really. Go get your OSCP and jump right into it. That 4 year you're gonna spend in college, spend 6 months on OSCP, and then 6 months to get a job at a low. You're 18. You don't need a job that pays you like $200K a year. So that's $60K as a junior pen tester. And that gives you the experience by the time you're 25, 26, when you want to get a career started, you have that experience because you did your OSCP and you learned, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I totally agree. And man, bug bounties are just so good for people who are kind of starting out as well, because you've got like millions of hosts that you can just practice on.
Yeah.
And you get real world experience. OSCP doesn't necessarily prep you for that. I remember the first engagement I ever got thrown on was a web app test, and I kind of was expecting to get a shell because everything that I'd ever hacked in the past had been basically a CTF box or like an OSCP box or whatever, and like I was gunning for RCE and I didn't get it. And most web apps you won't be able to do that, and that's the difference. And I've heard you say this before. Actually, I think this might actually be coming from you. I might just be repeating what you say. That is that when you're doing OSCP and CTF boxes and whatever, it doesn't prepare you for that mindset of being like, this is not necessarily vulnerable. I might be looking at something that is perfectly secure and it's never going to be hacked. And that's just how it is,
Yeah, I think the beauty of like doing the bug bounty thing is that once you get enough experience, you know what to look for. You know what seems secure and what seems vulnerable. Like that experience only comes with you spending countless hours on bug bounties, man. Like I don't know how many times I have to say this. The first year I ever did bug bounties, I probably made like, I don't know, 20,000 for that whole year, 15,000 for the whole year. It's still a quite amount of money if you're in college, right? Like, if you're, your junior year of college or university, that's a lot of money for you. But I wasn't making hundreds of thousands, but I was spending like 12, 14, 16 hours a day. Like if you do the math of like 16 hours a day for, I don't know, let's say a whole year I made 20K, that's barely any money per hour. But I spent so much time now, 5 years later, it paid off.
Oh, yeah. That is such a good point to make, man. And so many people like ask about this, right? And actually, like there was a guy that messaged me the other day, and this has happened a few times, and you can kind of feel that desperation that they really want to succeed, and they might be good hackers, but when they're doing bug bounties, they're not quite catching it. And it was the same with me. Like I first started, and it took me a while to start finding bugs regularly, and now I'm pretty confident that when I sit down and do bug hunting, I can at least find like some low level bugs, right? Every time I sit down. And that's a really good place to be. But it took so long to get there. And now I look back and I'm like, why did I struggle so much? But it just takes that experience, like you said, and it takes that time. Yeah, but I was gonna say, like people contact me sometimes, and you can kind of feel that they're a bit desperate to find bugs, and I kind of like I try and spend that time with everyone, and I'm busy, so like it's difficult, but I try and spend that time with people who are who are willing to like message me and ask for advice or something like that, because it means a lot. And I think that the thing that some people have is that they've just jumped so hard into bug bounties. Like I don't know, maybe they saw someone on Twitter that posted that they were earning lots of money or whatever, and they were like, right, this is what I'm going to do. But they need the money. Like they don't have a job. They are trying to support their family or something like that. Or like even, people are trying to support their parents and things like that, which total respect. But if you put that kind of pressure on yourself and you just go, I'm going to go full-time bug bounties and I'm going to support my family. And if I fail, then like my whole family is riding on this. Like that is very, very ballsy with bug bounties, especially when you have no reference of how much money you could possibly earn and like how many bugs you're going to find. And it doesn't set you up well for bug bounties either, because you're not giving yourself space to learn. Yeah. And it takes time. It takes time to get good at bounties. It takes time to like to start finding regular bugs and start earning serious money from it. And you just can't rely on that. If you're just starting out, you cannot rely on it. You need to somehow, whether it's getting another job somewhere else, doing something else and hacking at night or whatever. If you really want to do it, you need to really like give yourself time and space to learn with bug bounties. And speak to most people who are successful in bug bounties and they had that time. For me, like I've got a baby now. I've got a little daughter, and I've got a wife, and I've got a life outside computers.
It's hard to balance that, man. It's a hard balance.
It's hard. It's hard. It's a constant challenge. And I've got a full-time job, which is very demanding, in a good way, but it takes my time up, and it takes my energy. And by the time I get to the end of the workday, if I'm not feeling it, I don't hack. And I've got that freedom to do that because I've set my life up so that bug bounties are like not my primary income. Yeah, it's fun for me, right? And it wouldn't be as fun if I wasn't chasing money. But it's that different mindset. I'm coming at it from like, oh, maybe I'll spend a week researching this. I won't make any money while I'm kind of researching it, but it's gonna be great. It's gonna be interesting, and something might come of it, and something might not. Whereas if you're like, okay, my family is relying on me earning $500 this week, then you've got to like keep spamming that DMARC until you find one that's not a dupe or whatever, and like you'll never learn that way, and you'll never be able to grow as a hacker. So super yeah, I just wanted to say that because it man, my heart sinks every time someone messages me and says something like that. I'm just like, oh gosh, like don't do it.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between, so like I've been on both sides of it, man. I've been the person, I did it for a year where I was a freelancer pretty much for a whole year working for myself to make money. And it's kind of draining when the thing that you love to do with a passion becomes a source of your income that puts a stress on you. Like you know, you have to pay your bills, you have to pay your car insurance, your cell phone bill, your rent, you have to buy food, groceries, all that stuff adds up. But I think a lot of people that are getting into bug bounties for the monetary reasons are going to be temporary, short term. And then the ones that are succeeding and going through, bug bounty is where they're learning stuff from. The bounty is a supplement / a bonus, but they're doing it to learn. I didn't, don't get me wrong, I love the bug bounty money that I made from it, but I didn't do it just for the money, man. Like, it was the self-improvement was the best part. It was that I was curious to see, I see the Nafis and the Smeagol's and the Mark Litchfields and Mongos and all these people that were doing bug bounties since, maybe not Mongo anymore, but some of these people that were doing bug bounties back 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I wanted to become one of these guys, but I had no idea how to do it. Right? So the passion was to become one of these top hackers, and then the money was a secondary thing. But I feel like a lot of people that come into bug bounties nowadays, man, it's the other way around. It's you want to make money because you see all these tweets of like, I made $40,000 today, I made $20,000 today. But you don't realize these people have been hacking for like since they were kids, maybe. They've been hacking since they were 15, 16. They know that they have the knowledge versus someone that's brand new. You're not going to get there overnight.
Yeah, and I see that in a lot of questions that come my way. I'm sure you get the same thing. It's like people who are asking questions, and just from the way that they're asking the question or just from what the question is, you can tell that they don't understand the value of experience. And I've heard you talk about this as well. And it's like, when someone asks a question like, hey, what tool do you use to find P1s? I'm just like, oh, you don't get it. Like, it doesn't work like that. You need to spend years or like months, like researching a specific thing to be good at that thing. You need to really put the time in. Like, there are no shortcuts. And believe me, if there are shortcuts, they've already been found. And like, hackers are like the kings and queens of finding shortcuts, right? And I've always been like that. I remember like when I was young, and I just remember this one time that my I don't know why it's stuck in my head. It was really weird. Obviously affected me somehow. But my dad was getting me to wash the car, right? And I was like, oh God, I don't want to wash the car or do any jobs really. I've always been quite lazy when it comes to actual hard work. And
guilty, man, I'm with you.
And I'd be like, oh, okay, how am I gonna shortcut this? And I kind of like did it as quickly as I could, and like hose it off as quickly as I could. And then dad comes out and inspects the car, and he's like, this is the worst job ever. And my dad is a hard worker, so I had to do it again. And maybe it stuck with me because that was the day that I was like, oh, okay, you actually can't shortcut everything. And when I left, when I dropped out of my computer science degree, I became a musician for like 5 years, and I played an instrument since I was like 7 years old or something like that. And that's one of those things, especially the instrument that was my primary instrument, which was trumpet. You just cannot get good at trumpet quickly. It takes years. Like, it literally takes years to sound good enough to be like a professional trumpet player. It's going to take at least 5 years.
Right.
And you might learn a lot in the first month. If you spend a month practicing for an hour a day, you're going to be better than like 97% of trumpet players in the world, but you still won't sound good enough to be like on a recording. And then if you want to sound good enough to be on a recording, you have to spend like 2-3 hours a day for 8 years or something like that. If you know, that's just to get that last like 2 or 3%, right? And it's the same. I feel like it's the same with bug bounties. If you want to know enough about hacking to know more about hacking than 99% of the world, then you can do it in a day. But if you want to know enough about hacking to be in the top 0.01 percentile of earners in the bug bounty space, it's going to take you a long time. And that's just something that, you know, you have to live with if you want to do bug bounties. Yeah.
I think the thing that you said about tools, like, this is something that I had to do for myself. If you can't, so here's the thing. Can I recreate these tools? Yes, absolutely. Am I going to do it? Fuck no. It's going to take me way much longer, and it's probably going to be a lot slower to do it, right? But do I know how to do it? Yes. Do I understand how these tools are built, why they're built, and, you know, how to use them? Before you go and use a tool like SQL Map, or you go and use a directory brute forcer, understand why they were built. Understand how they work before you go and jump into using those tools, because then you're taking shortcuts just to make the money, and you're not going to last. It's not going to be something that's going to last you in the long run. So if you're watching this, you're a new bug bounty hunter, tools are great. Use them to your advantage. But please take the time to understand how these tools are built, what they're built for, and how to use them, and why they're valuable, instead of just spraying them. It's the same thing with payloads. You know, if you're copy pasting, you know, image source equals 1, alert 1, that's going to work in some context. But if you don't understand why it works, you're going to miss a lot of XSS, man. Like, you're going to miss a lot of those. Because image source isn't going to work in a script tag. It's not going to work in a title tag. It's not going to work in a lot of places. It's not going to work in a text area, right? So you have to understand the context of these before you start copy pasting them and relying on them.
Yeah, that's working hard. If all you're doing is logging into apps and pasting an XSS payload that you don't understand, you're working really hard and not working smart. Yeah. And that the shortcut thing, like, I think the trick is knowing when you can spend time doing shortcuts and when you can't. And like learning hacking at a macro level, you can't take shortcuts. It's going to take time to like learn things. You need to learn different technologies. You need to learn all the vulnerability classes, things like that, just to get like a basic hacking knowledge. But at a micro level, if you can circumvent like learning specific things about hacking, take the shortcut. And like I'm all for shortcuts, but if your shortcut is like messaging someone and saying and asking like questions that you can Google, that's not a shortcut. That's not going to work. So it's just important to know that. And I understand the urge to do that. And you know, I've probably done it in the past too. And like I'm always looking for shortcuts, both in music when I was doing music, and also with hacking. You know, I'm
it's
always
a human thing, man. It's a human thing. That's humans. We're always gonna look for a shortcut.
Yeah.
But it's just it's just what shortcuts you look for and how you do it.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about development. What's your take on that, man? Do you think it is programming a requirement when it comes down to bug bounties?
No. I mean there are successful bug bounty hunters who can't code, or they say they can't code. And I was chatting with Tom Nom Nom the other day, and
he definitely can code.
He can definitely code. And I actually I was doing an interview with him, and it hasn't been released yet, but it will be. And I asked him this exact question. I said, like, do you think that development is a requirement for bug bounty hunting? And I really liked his answer. He said, no, it's not a requirement, because there's the proof is in the pudding, right? Like there are some really top bug bounty hunters that can't code. But he also said, well, they say they can't code, but then you find out, well, they can actually read code. So they kind of understand how it works. You know, maybe they actually know a bit more than they think they know. So if they had to put a little script together, even if it's like a bash script or whatever, they could do it. And you know, that basic like fundamental knowledge is actually the most important knowledge, I think. You know, for me, it's just about automation. Like, if I can code, then I can get my computer to work for me, and my computer can do that while I'm sleeping. So like, it just makes total sense in terms of like return on investment for the time that I put into bug bounties. Automation does make a lot of sense because it can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It can do that grind work for me a lot of the time. But obviously, like, you can't automate everything, and you've got to put manual work into. But yeah, should you learn to code for bug bounties? I would say yeah. I'd say do it. But you don't need to be like an absolute boss developer to get into bug bounties. Not at all. Like, just a knowledge of like the tools that are available, and learn how to bash script and maybe some basic Python, and that'll get you through. Yeah, it'll just help you out.
What about CTFs? You mentioned also you did CTFs to. You said it was for a recruitment agency, and you got into it through that. How does that look, man? Like, do you think, is it beneficial for people to do CTFs? Do you think it's relevant to bug bounties nowadays?
Well, this is kind of like the OSCP question in that,
right,
in a CTF, there's something vulnerable, so it's like the wrong mindset. But also, yeah, it depends. It depends on what you're learning. You could say that Pentester Lab is a CTF in a way, and like that is super valuable because you're learning about real world vulnerabilities. But if you're there are some CTFs out there that are very CTF style boxes on Hack the Box and stuff, and it's just frustrating sometimes doing them because you would never see a vulnerability like that in real life, or it's some obscure like encryption cipher thing, and you've got to like decode it somehow, and I don't know. But yeah, I think CTFs are valuable just for like general knowledge and like getting that thirst for hacking. And it's really good for getting. I've run some CTFs with like younger people, like school kids and things, and it really gets them involved in like learning hacking and things like that. So for that purpose, yeah, I think it is.
Right.
But if you're looking for knowledge that's going to earn you dough on bug bounty programs, then you could better spend your time elsewhere.
Yeah, I think again, this is like you said. It goes to the like OSCP thing. Like, is CTF a good place to learn? Absolutely, because they're building the CTF levels based on real bugs. You're gonna get these concept rights. It's just, again, the expansion of what you learn and what time you put in to go and actually figure these things out. It all comes down to the self. It's a self thing. You want to do it. Like, you want to challenge yourself to do this. And you say you're lazy, and I say I'm lazy too. But when it comes down to like the challenge of wanting to learn something, I think that laziness goes through it goes out the window in a heartbeat, because you feel like you have to accomplish this thing on your own.
Yeah, and about the lazy thing too. And I know you're the same. And I think a lot of bug bounty hunters are. There's good lazy and there's bad lazy. So there's like, when I say good lazy, you could use the word efficient, right?
Right.
You're efficient. But then there's bad lazy and like, oh, I don't want to put in the work to like learn this thing. There's both kinds. And I get both kinds in my Twitter DMs all the time. Some people are just like, literally, they're looking for a shortcut. They don't want to put in the work. I'm a good hacker. And then there's the other kind that's like, I'm lazy and that like I make bash aliases to make things quicker for myself. That's a form of laziness, but it's a good form of laziness, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah.
So here's the thing, like back when I was in college, we had a recruiter come from Apple to talk to the students, right? And there was a question they asked, like, do you know why Apple actually loves to hire lazy people? Do you know why?
Well, is it that reason? Like,
it is, man. Like, the answer he said something like, we like to hire lazy people because they're gonna try and do the job once, and once
Yeah.
only and get it done instead of trying a different, a million different ways and fail. That's why we like
Yeah.
to hire lazy people, because they do it once and they're done with it. They get it, they get it done the first try because they're so lazy they don't want to go back to it.
I love that. I love that. Hire lazy people. Yeah, but the good lazy.
They get lazy, right? That's it. That's the difference with get lazy, though, right? Like you get efficient, like even at work, man. Like when we have to do something 4 or 5 times, I don't care. I'm writing a bash script. I do it with Burp sometimes, like things that don't even make sense. We have to do it manually.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not doing this, 20 times a week. I'm
Yeah.
I'm too lazy for this shit, dude. I'm automating it.
Oh yeah, me too. And like I also get like it's easy to get obsessed, and I do this quite often. Like you spend 5 hours automating something that only really takes you a few seconds, and you'll probably never make that time back. But damn, when you're in a rush or you're like pressed for time, you've got that thing automated already, and like it saves you so much time, and it just feels good. Every time you've automated something and then you need to do it, you're like, so easy.
It makes life easier, man. Yeah, I agree, man. It's the good kind of lazy, and how much effort you want to put into it. Let's talk about just a little bit more about hacking now. Let's get more technical, if you want to call it. Tell me, man, what are some of your favorite tools? What are some tools that you use on a regular basis when it comes down to hacking? Obviously Burp Suite being one of them. What other tools do you use?
Yeah, like you said, hands down, Burp Suite is my number one favorite tool. I have, anything that Tom Nom Nom writes is pure gold.
That's definitely one you need to have. Yep.
And I write a lot of my own custom stuff. I've got my own kind of automation platform just for bug bounties that I kind of use and hack on a lot. I was originally developed that out with a couple of other guys. I won't mention their name, but I'm not sure if they want their name mentioned. We kind of developed that out together, and it's been super, super valuable. But yeah, that if there's a tool I really need that nothing else really quite cuts it, I'll write my own. But definitely check the Tom Nom Nom repos first, because he's probably already done it. And also right now I'm digging all of the project discovery tools. They are so good, and I love where they're going with that.
Shout out to
like Nuclei and what are the other ones, like HTTPX and all that, Subfinder, of course. So good. They've come a long way. Oh, and Amass. Like I was watching. Dude, it's so much better than people give it credit for. I reckon I was a big Amass fanboy before. But then I watched that Jeff Foley talk from the conference you put on. I was watching that on YouTube, like not that long ago, a couple of weeks ago maybe, and I didn't even know that Amass had their own, like you could write extensions for it in Lua.
Oh, that's brand new. That's why he revealed that at NahamCon for the first time.
Oh,
that was brand new feature that they just added. Yeah. It's crazy though, like how big it's become, man. Like it's crazy how much shit you can get done with just one tool now. It's your one-stop shop for recon at this point.
Well, exactly, and people are writing custom recon frameworks, like I did.
Yeah.
But Amass probably blows it out of the water. Whatever you can write in 12 months, Amass probably is better in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
To be frank, like in terms of the data that it will collect, it's got so many different sources. If you're looking for subdomains, obviously, but it also does like it does like the Amass Intel stuff. It does like reverse DNS on IP ranges. It does. It pulls names out of SSL certificates. It does like so much stuff that I've been using lately, and I've even written custom tools to do some of this stuff. And then I've realized, Amass actually already does it, so I didn't need to do that.
The tracking system now too, that you can track tools and stuff. Yeah.
And now that Amass does accepts extensions, you could build a recon framework. And a mass could be the center of that framework, and you could just write extensions to do all of the little things that a mass doesn't do. And you could even write Lua scripts for vulnerabilities and things. And I've actually been thinking about doing this. It'd be way more lightweight than my customer that I'm working with now.
Yeah.
And I just think it would be so good. The only thing is, what I'd love to see in a mass is a way to distribute it over like lots of different boxes. I want to be able to set up like an environment with a bunch of different VPSs and scan lots of stuff at the same time. And the current framework that I work with, it does that. Whereas a mass, I'm not sure. I can't think of a good way to do that. There probably is a good way to do that, but that's the only thing. Like when you're working with lots of different domains, it might be a bit hard.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What about Burp Suite? Do you have any favorite Burp Suite extensions, or most used at least, that you rely on heavily?
No, not that I rely on heavily. Most of the time when I'm using Burp Suite, I'm just using classic Burp Suite without any extensions.
Okay.
But in the past, I have definitely used, especially if I'm working on a specific target that requires a specific thing. I'll use maybe like param miner if I'm looking really heavily into a single host, or the different extensions that help with web cache poisoning and deserialization stuff, and sometimes you really need those extensions to make life easier. And also the vanity ones like that format JSON nicely and format JavaScript nicely and stuff like that. I use those ones.
So you use more of the extensions that are productivity versus exploitation.
Yeah. I would say that I do that.
Yeah. I don't use any I think I use Burp just mostly for repeater and intruder. I don't know why I pay $300 when it's free, but but you have to, man. Like there's times when you want to use intruder at a faster pace. I get it. But yeah, I'm the same way. I use it for productivity versus exploitation, which I think it's good and bad if you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Burp's incredible. You can't really do without it these days if you're doing web app hacking, can you? In fact, I'm waiting for someone to make a really good competitor though. It's well overdue.
It's gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to put in, but just in terms of reliability and everything, a lot of people have been whinging about Burp lately. I've actually found it to get a lot more reliable. Like when 2.x first got released, and even when it came out of beta, I was having a lot of trouble with it, but I'm actually finding it to be a lot better now. And for some reason, I got forced into using 1.7 the other day, which was, back when Burp was like super reliable on 1.x. Right. And I quickly realized like Burp has come a long way, and it's got a lot of new features, and it's got a way better interface than it did, 12 months ago, 18 months ago. So I'm happy that it's still progressing. But yeah, someone needs to make a good Burp alternative. There's Zap, and Zap has a lot of great advantages, and it has a lot of features that are only available in Burp Pro, but Zap is free. So, definitely, I recommend people check out Zap. But yeah, I just like the interface kind of confuses me on Zap a bit, and it's still written in Java, I think, which just doesn't sit well in my gut. And
I think Burp is just way more fluid, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Burp is way more fluid. That's a good way to put it. And also, it is the industry standard. So if you have any questions about it, or if you have any how do I say it? If you have any like any questions or concerns about Burp, like you're always going to get support for it, right?
And there's a lot of good resources out there on how to use Burp nowadays. I feel like they've definitely become the leading standard for the industry. Absolutely, both Bug Bounty and Pentest. Let's talk about routines and motivation. How does it work with you, man? Like on the days that you do hack, do you have a routine? How does it look for you? Like, do you hack regularly? Do you hack a particular, how many hours a week do you hack? How does that look for you, man, with Bug Bounties?
Yeah, so I go it comes in waves, motivation, and I think that's the case for anything, any type of motivation. So sometimes I'm super motivated to do bug bounties, and like I have trouble going to bed at night because it's so addictive sometimes. So yeah, like I said, I've got a family now, so most of my hacking that I do once they go to sleep, like after 10 p.m. But I don't have a set routine necessarily, although I guess I do because I work during the day and then I have like family time at night. And then, when they go to sleep, I tend to stay up and hack late. I don't recommend hacking too late in terms of like your mental health and, getting enough sleep and everything. But sometimes I'm super motivated to do that. And when I'm motivated to do something, it doesn't matter. Like I just find and that I can just sit up for hours at night and I'm super motivated to do it. And I don't really feel the tiredness that much. And I'm like listening to music and just loving it. And if that's how you feel and you feel energized from what you're doing, then, by all means, I think keep doing it. But if you're getting tired, don't. And that's what happens to me. Sometimes I go a month or two without doing any bug bounties just because I'm tired and I don't want to. But yeah, that's kind of what my routine looks like. In terms of motivation, I wrote a blog post about this. If you search like Hakluke motivation or something, you'll probably find it. But basically, it comes down to doing what you love. Right. And when I've kind of thought about this in the past, I went through this. You need to teach yourself how to be motivated, really. I think it's a skill that some people just kind of have it and some people just like don't have it, but you can learn it. I honestly think it's a learnable skill, being motivated. And I went through this with music because I was studying music at a professional level. It's a super competitive space to be in, very similar to bug bounties. And being motivated enough to just sit in a room and shed for hours every day, and I literally mean hours every day, right, it's really hard because once you get to a certain level, once you're like at a professional level, you're improving like 0.00001% every day, and it feels like you're getting nowhere. Like you definitely don't feel the improvement. So being motivated to put that time in, even though you don't feel the improvement, is hard. And especially in a high pressure environment, you're putting a lot of stress on yourself, and in terms of like mental health, you're really caning yourself, and it's not a good place to be. Yeah. So here's how I do it. I only focus on stuff that I am naturally drawn to. I only focus on stuff that I'm naturally motivated to do. But I find stuff that I'm naturally motivated to do within that space. So if I'm learning to hack and I really feel like I should learn how to I should learn like the OAuth flow so that I can do more hacking on OAuth apps, for example. But I'm just not motivated to do that. And what I actually want to do is code. I want to learn Golang and I want to code some tool in Golang. I just do the Golang tool. I just do what I'm naturally drawn to. And I don't beat myself up about not knowing something or not putting my time into something that I feel like I should be doing, because who says what I should be doing? It's important to remember that like you're in control of what you spend your time on. Right. And if you're not spending time doing things that you actually enjoy and that you actually love doing, then your motivation is going to dwindle. 100% it's going to dwindle. So in terms of keeping up motivation, just follow what you love and follow what you like doing, and you'll end up having lots of knowledge in things that you like, which then it puts you in this positive feedback loop where your life starts developing around the things that actually you're inspired naturally to do. For example, I was working as a pen tester, but I was spending a lot of my time doing bug bounties, right? And I was doing that because pen testing was getting, frankly, boring, and bug bounties were really exciting to me. Yeah. So I was doing my job and I was doing due diligence there, obviously, and doing all the right things there. But then I was also spending a lot of time bug hunting because that's where my motivation was at the time. And sure enough, you spend enough time doing the things that you love, and your life kind of evolves around that. And now, as you mentioned before, I work for a major bug bounty platform,
Shout out to
Bug
and Casey in the family.
And yeah, so my whole life is bug bounties now, and that's what I was motivated to do, and I just spent time doing it, even though I probably could have spent that time developing my career in like a different way. Like I probably should have spent more time doing development when I was a developer and learning more about development, but I didn't. I spent that time hacking because that's what I was motivated to do, and I'm a lot happier for it now because my whole life revolves around hacking.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You talked about mental health too. I want to kind of hear about it. How do you deal with burnouts, man? I'm sure there's been times where you're stressed out or you're burnt out from hacking or anything in life. It doesn't have to be hacking, just burnouts in general with anything that you do. How do you deal with it?
Yeah, so really good question, and I know you ask like a lot of your guests this, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you bringing that up and being so candid talking about burnout and mental health in your stream, because it is so important, especially with hacking, which is a discipline that requires you to sit down in front of a screen for hours a day. It's really important that you look after your mental health. And burnout is like the culmination of when you haven't been looking after yourself. So the question maybe shouldn't be, how do I deal with burnout? But how do I avoid burnout in the first place? And I avoid burnout, like I said before, by focusing on things that I actually enjoy. So I can spend a lot of time hacking if I'm spending time on things that I truly love. I get burnt out when I find myself doing too much grind work or too much work on things that might make me more money, but they don't fill my soul, for lack of a better word. I don't want to be too airy-fairy about it, but I'm always trying to do things that I really enjoy. And if you do hit a wall, and I've definitely hit a wall before, like I can think of one point in my life in particular where I was hacking, and when I think about it now, just thinking back now, I'm only realizing now, I think that was the only time that I was trying to focus on earning money in bug bounties, instead of just like doing it because I really enjoy. And that's a mistake for a start. But how did I recover from that burnout? I'm just trying to think. Like, I think I just took a break. I think I just like couldn't deal with it anymore, and I just took a break, and I only did the
disconnect, right?
Yeah, I just had to disconnect. And humans, like, you think about human evolution and everything. Naturally, we want to spend time in nature. Like there is nothing that makes you feel good like jumping in the ocean or going for a walk in the bush or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's definitely for me, but I think it's for everyone. Working with computers is this artificial environment that humans have only been exposed to for a very short period of short amount of human existence. And it's not a natural thing to do. So naturally, we're going to get burnt out if we do too much of it. So I think like getting in nature is a good one. But also just the general things like eating good food. I'm really all about doing that. Exercising. I go through stages of exercising and not exercising, but when I exercise, I feel 10 times better. And I always think, why don't I always do this? But then somehow like life gets in the way and I don't again. But yeah, I have been exercising lately. And the other thing is sleep. Like sleep enough. I feel like I'm my mom, like just like on stream, like telling people to eat healthy and sleep and exercise. But
that's,
seriously,
dude, the sleeping thing, I started laughing really hard because like, dude, I go to bed around 11:30 or midnight. I go to bed and I wake up at 7:30. I get my 8 hours of sleep, dude. There's nothing that's going to stop me from getting 8 hours of sleep. I said everyone's laughing at my choking really quick. but there's nothing that gets in the way of my sleep, man. Like, you need that. I've realized, like, when I used to do the whole, like, sleep for 4 hours, wake up the next morning at 8 a.m. or whatever, like, go to bed at 4 and wake up at 9
Yeah.
a.m. When you do 4 hours of sleep, your brain doesn't function the same way. Like,
Yeah.
you're getting more, you're getting more hours out of your day, but you need sleep, man. Like, even if you're doing if you're pressuring yourself to stay up longer and go to bed, later and wake up early, dedicate a day when you, like, a Saturday when you sleep in for a little bit. You need that sleep. You need to make sure your brain gets enough rest to be able to function properly.
Yeah. Man, I just Googled it because I wasn't sure where this idea came from. But have you heard of sleep debt?
I have.
Yeah. So like, I can't remember where I first heard about it, but I just Googled it and I found an article here in Scientific American. But basically, for anyone who hasn't heard of it, sleep debt is the difference between the amount of sleep you should be getting and the amount of sleep that you actually get. And there was some study that was done which basically said that if you don't sleep enough and you get this sleep debt, so say you sleep an hour less than you should have last night, you'll be fine the next day, right? You'll be fine. But if you do that for a month, then you've lost 30 hours of sleep that you should have gotten. And at some point you need to make that up. And, some people hit a wall and they get like, what's it called? Chronic fatigue. And then they just have to sleep all day for like a year, right? And, maybe that's a result of sleep debt. I don't know. But at some point you got to make that up. And I feel like my current routine is unhealthy in that Monday to Friday, I'm a machine and I work all day and then I hack at night. And sometimes I get obsessed and I'm up till like 3 a.m. or whatever. Don't recommend it.
I don't either. Definitely.
Then on weekends, I catch up on that. And, that's my way of dealing with it. But, then I'm taking time out of my family life as well. So it's all about balance, I think. And you just gotta do the best you can.
Yeah, and then on the same topic of like mental health, I think this is another thing that a lot of hackers deal with at least regularly. What about imposter syndrome? In a world where everybody is posting out ideas and everyone's so good at hacking and finding these incredible bugs, right? Yeah, man. How does that? Do you deal with imposter syndrome?
I knew you were going to ask me this because I know you ask a lot of people this too. And, yesterday I was kind of thinking, how am I going to answer that question when it comes up? And I never really thought it through to the end. But let me put it this way. Imposter syndrome is not unique to hacking or bug bounties or whatever. Mm-hmm. It exists in every facet of life. Especially when it comes to like career, earning money or whatever. But if you were an athlete, say you're really good at a 100-meter sprint, you're going to have imposter syndrome when you walk into a room with a bunch of like professional runners, right? If you are a painter, you might get imposter syndrome when you go to another gallery and you see someone else's work.
Right.
But I don't want to sound like an egotistical, idiot, but I really feel like I've overcome imposter syndrome. And the reason is because of my time playing music. And when you play music, every day you get this crushing imposter syndrome. And overcoming that is super important to being an authentic, genuine artist. Because you can only truly make music that is authentic or genuine to yourself if you don't care what other people think about the music that you're creating. Yeah. As soon as you start caring about what other people think too much, you are not being genuine to the music that you like anymore. Instead, you're trying to play things that you think other people will like. And you can smell it, man. When you really listen to an artist that, or a musician or a songwriter or whatever that you really truly connect with somehow, it's because it's genuine and it's authentic. And the music that's written or the way that it's played or the lyrics or whatever, they speak to you in a way that is not fake, right?
Yeah.
So the only way that you can do that as a musician is to literally, truly, at a deep level, stop caring about what other people think of your music, of your art. And that's something I struggled with so much playing music, because every time you perform, every time you release music or whatever, you are putting yourself out there big time for judgment.
Right.
And after a while, I just stopped caring, I think. And the reason I stopped caring is because it was so crushing and so crippling that it's exhausting. And it came from a place of like caring so much that I couldn't care anymore what people think. So then coming into hacking, I feel like I'd already had the crash course in caring what people think about my work so much. And I'm just over it now. I'm just so over it. I'm over caring what people think about my tools. I'm over people caring about what I post about on Twitter, stuff like that. It's exhausting, and it's a limiting belief, and it's only going to do you harm in the long run. So, discipline your brain. If you're dealing with imposter syndrome, just piss that thought off. Get rid of it. It's not serving you at all. It's only going to hold you back. And as soon as you truly realize that and you truly believe that, you will never have imposter syndrome again. Instead, you'll walk into a room full of the best hackers in the world or whatever, and you will go, these are my colleagues. These are my people. And, I know more than them about some stuff. They know more than me about some stuff. And it's all good. Like, we all have stuff to learn. None of us know everything. And we are just all, on this planet for like a limited amount of time. And what's the point in feeling anxious about not being as good as other people? Like, it sounds simple, but just be disciplined in your thoughts and don't let that shit creep into your head, because it will cripple you. That's something I'm really passionate about, because it really was crippling for me for a long time as a musician. But
yeah, I dealt with a similar thing when it came down to content. I was doing these videos for other people. I don't need to put the content for me. I know that stuff already. But when you put in content now for other people, there's also the imposter syndrome in you that kicks in. And it's become to the point that I no longer care. If the content, if the 170 people that watch, they watch it and they enjoy and learn something from it, let that be it. It doesn't really. I do it for me now because I didn't get into content for anybody else. I did it mostly for me in the beginning, and I lost track of that for a bit when it became more about what other people think about the content that I put out. When in reality, the content that I do put out, it's gonna help someone more than anything else, right?
Yeah.
So doing it for yourself, man, is the biggest thing, and also like fuck what everybody else is doing. Like we all come from different backgrounds, man. Like, in your first 20 years of your life, you didn't have the same experience as I did. You didn't have, you may have had less struggles or more struggles. You may have had better guidance. You may have access to better resources, less resources. You may have been from a country that didn't have access to some stuff, right? We all come from different backgrounds, and of course we're going to have different experiences. But you shouldn't compare yourself to other people. If you are comparing yourself to other people, it shouldn't be in a negative way. Like, I look at other people and I go, I want to be at this person's level, younger. Like, example, you see someone that's like in their 40s, they have the things that you want. Yeah, I compare it and I go, I want to have these things, but in a positive way that I tell myself, okay, I want to have these things in my 30s. And I want to work hard to get to those things. It's a motivation versus the putting yourself down instead.
Yeah, man, awesome mindset. And with success, you care what other people think less as well. And also, for some reason, like, this is super cliche, but I just want to say it, having a child has really made me care less about what other people think too, because suddenly you have this thing in your life that you care about more than yourself. And you just go, creating content, for example, is just what I do. It's just what I need to do now. And like someone on Twitter doesn't like what I post. Who cares? Like, I have a
Unfollow.
baby to look after. You know what I mean? I got other stuff in my life, and I was going to say something else too. But yeah, I'm blanking now. Sorry, I can't remember what it was. But yeah, basically, like, who cares what other people think? It's only going to limit you caring about that, and
Yeah.
just smash it anyway. Yeah, that's right. I was gonna say, for every 1,000 people that love your content, then there's going to be someone who is like gonna hate on it for some reason, And it's the same with releasing music. It's the same with releasing hacking tools. It's the same with absolutely anything that you put yourself out there for. There's always going to be someone who is going to hate on it, either because they hate it or because they're jealous or because whatever. But it doesn't matter. Like, you're improving the lives of so many people. You're entertaining so many people. You're providing value to so many people's lives. And who cares about that one person? If they're rude enough to like raise that and like post about it or like message you some crappy comment, then that's their issue. It's not your issue.
Yeah, I mean, I have a thick skin to not be bothered by the comments. That hasn't been a comment that's bothered me. There's been a few times when people have disrespected, people other than myself. There was a few weeks ago, I went off on someone on Twitter, and I wasn't happy about the outcome, but it was just like, disrespect me is one thing, but going after a list of people and telling every single one of these people aren't shit is a different story. You're going after an entire group of people that are helping move the community forward, while you haven't done a single thing. Like, what have you done to say the people that are in that list haven't done anything, man? Like, I never stand up for myself because I don't care. I do it, it's weird to say that I have fans, but I do it for people that are fans, man. The people that show up to this stream, the people that hang out with me on this stream, the people that come to my Discord, I do it for them. And if they enjoy it, that's all that matters to me. But don't sit there and bash an entire group of people that have spent years of their lives. Hadex is one of them. He's been doing this for 7 years. He's one of the first people that's been doing. I've been doing this for 6 years. Like, don't go after people that have been doing stuff, putting out tools, open sourcing things for free. They don't gain anything from any of this. They're literally doing it to move an industry forward, and the least you can do is to shut the fuck up and contribute, or just don't say anything.
Yeah. Exactly. You don't have to actively tear someone down. You can just not say anything. Like, that is a choice.
Yeah,
anyway.
Man, it's you can't ever please everybody. I saw Tom posted something like, "Hey, you shouldn't engage with trolls," and I know it was directed at me, but he didn't want to say it directly to me, and I get it. I wouldn't do that either, but it's just like, fuck that. Like, if you're going after a group of people that I respect, I'm gonna stand up and do it. Let alone I was drunk that night when I did it. It doesn't matter, but that's not an excuse. But still, man, like, I'm gonna stand up for a community that I've worked very hard for, and there's a group of people that are doing good stuff. I'm gonna be the first to speak out. I don't care.
Yeah, and someone's got to do it, man. Someone's got to do it, and not only is someone got to do it, I think more people have got to do it. More people have got to call out the bullshit behavior that some people have online. And, it's just awful. And especially when they're anonymous and they're not even putting their name to it. It's just totally cowardice and attention grabbing. But yeah, I rickrolled that guy, so I was pretty happy about that.
Yep, I'll be the first. If it does happen again, I'll be the first to jump in anytime, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
Let's jump into the last half of the interview, is when I have a little bit of fun. I ask you some questions about your bug bounty experience, and then you tell me the first thing that pops into your head.
All right.
And then right after that, I ask about, I give you a word, you tell me what comes into your brain. The first thing that pops.
All right. Sounds good.
1 sec, I gotta finish writing these notes really quickly. All right. Let's start with, what was the first program you ever hacked on?
Oh, actually, I think it was Alibaba.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it had only just been released, and I was basically looking for a large scope program that had only just been released, and hacked on it and found some stuff. Yeah, but I haven't really touched it since. So,
Do you remember what your first bounty was?
yeah, it was a subdomain takeover on CloudFront.
Do you remember what you did with that bounty?
No, I probably just saved it, I think, or yeah. At the time, like I was honestly not earning very much money, and yeah, I probably just spent it on like buying food or something, something boring like that. Sorry.
What is your favorite or most memorable purchase you have done with your bug bounty?
Oh, well, that's hard because like as soon as I earn a bounty, it ends up in my bank account. It mixes with money I earn from my job and stuff like that. So,
Okay.
it's hard to separate. But I actually came to a realization the other day about, I was kind of like adding up stuff for my tax and whatever.
Okay.
And I recently bought a unit, and recently bought a car too. Nothing special, just like a secondhand car. But I added up the amount of bounties that I'd made, and then I thought, wow, that actually paid for the house that I'm living in,
Nice.
and the car and everything. So like, totally life changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could hack on one program for the rest of your life, what program would it be?
Oh, that is tough. Yeah, I'm still looking for that program. I think I've never been one to stick to one program for long. I always get the jitters, but I just jump around and hack on whatever interests me on that day. But I'm still looking for one that I can really knuckle down on. And sometimes I knuckle down on one for like a month and then I get bored again. But yeah, haven't found it yet. That's the short answer.
Chat, if you have a good program to recommend to Luke, spam him
Yeah.
on Twitter with some programs.
Yeah, it has to be YOLO scope. It's got to be one of the ones that says any asset owned by XYZ.
Yeah.
And it also has to have good payouts, like at least 5K for a P1.
Do you have any hackers you regularly collaborate with?
Yeah, I regularly collaborate with Michael Skelton, Codingo, and Sajib, whose handle is SML555. Actually, like starting out in bounties, all three of us started as nobodies in the bounty space, but we're all hackers, all pen testers, and we collaborated loads, and we really cut our teeth together in the bug bounty space, and it was a really, really positive collaboration the whole time. Recently, we've started not collaborating as much because we all got really busy with work and stuff at the same time, and we don't really collaborate as actively anymore, and I'm hacking by myself a lot more. But yeah, those two guys, yeah, for sure.
Anybody you want to collaborate with that you want to give a shout out to, like anybody that's on your wish list?
Yeah, like pretty much, Tom Nom Nom. Yeah, who else? I mean, a lot of people spring to mind, like pretty much all the people that you interview spring to mind. But yeah, I know no one person in particular, except probably Tom Nom Nom, just because I love the way his brain works, man. I love the tools that he releases. I love the way that he thinks about coding, and I love the way that he thinks about tooling of writing specific tools that do specific things and then chaining them together in new and interesting ways. Like that really resonates with me well.
What is your favorite tool?
Favorite tool? I mean, can I say Burp Suite? I feel like that's a boring answer, but
I mean that's like the expected answer. Do you have anything else that you want to mention?
I'm really digging Nuclei at the moment, the Project Discovery one. But it's probably not I can't say it's my favorite. My favorite's probably Amass.
Fair enough.
Yeah, other than Burp Suite.
You mentioned music a lot, but besides music and anything computer related, what are some of your hobbies? Can you hear me okay?
Sorry, you broke up there for a
Oh,
second. What'd
sorry.
you say?
I said you mentioned music quite often, and besides computer and music, what are some of your other hobbies?
Yeah, so I've gotten into running recently. I wouldn't say it's a hobby. It's more of a thing that I force myself to do for exercise.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, there's that. Yeah, what other hobbies do I have? I guess just like mostly spending time with my family, getting outside. I play a bit of PlayStation, but I'm not like super into it. I wouldn't say. Um, yeah, I don't really. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really. Yeah, I can't think of any other hobbies that I would call like my main hobbies other
Yeah.
than hacking and music. Yeah.
Fair enough. Let's jump into the word game. So I'll give you a
All right.
word. It could be a word back or a sentence back, whatever comes into your mind first.
All right.
I gotta do this one, man. Buck crowd.
um, Bug bounty platform.
Um, Codingo.
Legend.
Burp suite.
Staple.
Mental health.
Important.
Content creation.
Important.
TikTok.
TikTok. Untapped.
Oh, amen. Alibaba.
Oh, difficult.
Project discovery.
Oh, they are like, man, they are doing great work. And the tools that they're releasing and the data that they're releasing it's incredible. And the rate that they're putting stuff out is ridiculous too. I'm loving their stuff at the moment. I really think like people aren't paying enough attention. Yeah.
What about Tom Nom Nom?
Legend.
Very cool. Let's open up some questions. Chat if you have any questions, a few minutes. Weston guy says, I don't know how far you are with the interview, but I have a question for Hakluke. How does he know what to go after in a program if you have no idea what to go after? And what does the process look like?
Yeah. So when I approach a new program, my first thing is understanding what the program does or what the company does. Say you're looking at a company that you look at their main website and it's not immediately clear what they do. First thing I'll do is understand their purpose, right? I'll understand like what they're all about, because once you know what the company's goal is and or what that particular application does or whatever, that's when you can start looking for vulnerabilities. You need to understand what the goal is, and you need to understand what the intended behavior is before you can start looking for vulnerabilities. That's the biggest thing. So first of all, you understand the purpose. Technically, what do you go for? I mean, the first thing that I would be looking at is what technologies are utilized by that target. So if they utilize APIs heavily with like JavaScript front ends, then you'd be looking at what kind of JavaScript framework they're using and looking at specific vulnerabilities for that, whether it's like Angular or React or whatever. You'd be looking for vulnerabilities that are specific to those different things. But yeah, basically it's all about recon and getting from macro to micro. That's my whole thing. It's like you want to go from like very abstract high level knowledge about a target, and you want to slowly narrow that knowledge down into one specific parameter on one specific web application on like some random subdomain. So when you get to that point of being on that one parameter, you want to have all of that knowledge to like sit on. So you've got a full context about what this parameter does in the context of the whole organization, so that if you do find a vulnerability on that parameter, you understand the context of it and you understand the impact of it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
What's your thought on machine learning, automation, hunting, bug bounty career? What does that even mean?
Hurting.
Hurting. This is hunting. Sorry, my screen is broken. I'm like, automation hunting. So what are your thoughts on machine learning automation hurting bug bounty career?
Yeah. Oh, look, it won't. It's a way off. You know, machine learning and AI
I think we're years away
is.
from that, man. I think we're a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit.
we're years away from that. And the whole thing. Okay, the whole thing of bug bounties is is the human element.
Yeah.
Like that is why bug bounty programs are so successful for companies. It's that you're having actual humans who have the intelligence to understand context and understand intent and purpose and things like that, which are very abstract concepts to machines, even machines that have like, you know, machine learning capabilities, whatever. They just can't replace the intelligence of a human yet when it comes to hacking in so many areas. So you know, I think it's not gonna hurt bug bounties for a long time.
I think
Yeah.
automation isn't gonna hurt it. It's gonna just improve it more for the hackers that know how to automate. But I think putting AI on top of it's gonna help them more than anything. And I think it's gonna be a while before any company or enterprise platform could, catch up to it. To be honest, that's just me though.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think AI and machine learning will surely be used more in security. It already is being used in a lot of like new-ish products coming out in the blue team space, but I can see it being used more in the attack space for sure. But I think it will still be wielded by in like a more manual way by researchers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Hammy, I want to say thank you so much for joining me. I know this is really, really early your time. I think it was like 6 a.m. when you joined me originally.
It was. Yeah. Thanks for pushing it back there because it would have been 5.
No, I appreciate you, man. I would do anything I can to, make sure you at least are comfortable with the time zone. You're doing me a favor by coming on the show. But I would say thank you so much, man. For those of you who are not familiar with Hakluke, I don't know why you wouldn't be, but here is his handle. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at HAKLUKE. Make sure you give him a follow. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you as always, and I look forward to seeing more of your work on Twitter and other channels.
Thanks, man. You too. You too. Thanks for all your great work.
Appreciate it, man. Have a good one. I hope you have a good Monday.
You too, man. See ya.
See you, man. Bye. All right. That was Hakluke. That was an awesome interview. Unfortunately, I've never had the pleasure to meet Luke in person. I was really hoping that I would get to meet him this year at DEF CON, but unfortunately, that did not happen. But anyways, that's it from me. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me again today. Thank you to all the new subscribers and all the new follows, all the gifted subs, all the bits, everything and everything. I appreciate you guys as always. I'll be back online hopefully tomorrow. I don't know yet, but make sure you check out the Discord channel. That's where you get notified when I go live again. So make sure you check it out. That's it. Let's go raid Tanner and let's see what he's doing and how his recon platform is going. Until the next stream, I'm out. Peace.